Magandang hapon po. Good afternoon. Since it's 1 o'clock already, or past 1. Okay, our hearing of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights is hereby called to order. This is a continuation of the hearing held on September 16, 2014, where we calendared the hazing bills, which are the unfinished business carried over to today's hearing. But for today's hearing, we have calendared 5 Senate resolutions on the subjects of torture and hazing. The resolutions on torture are proposed Senate Resolution number 661 by Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago, and proposed Senate Resolution number 1049 by this representation. The resolutions on hazing are proposed Senate Resolution number 759 by Senator J.B. Ercito, proposed Senate Resolution number 760 by Senator Bam Aquino, proposed Senate Resolution number 763 by Senator Soto. However, I have been informed that there are 3 bills on hazing pending in another committee. Senate bill number, so bills are pending resolutions are pending in this committee, but bills are pending in another committee. Senate bill number 503 by Senator Cynthia Villar, pending with the Committee on Education, Arts and Culture. Senate bill number 205 by Senator Honasan, pending before the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs. Senate bill number 97 by Senator Soto, pending before the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs. So depending on the result of our discussion this afternoon, maybe, and I'm inclined to do this, I will request that the 3 pending bills on hazing be transferred to this committee, to the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, so that we can process them together with the pending resolutions on hazing. So, depende po yan. If you should also recommend such an action by this committee. So now may I call on our committee secretary, Ms. Claire, to please, for the record, acknowledge the resource persons present in today's hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. Let me acknowledge the presence of our resource persons. We'll start with our representatives from the National Bureau of Investigation, Attorney Joel Tovera. From the Philippine National Police, we have Police Chief Superintendent Jose Villacorte. From Amnesty International, we have Director Richard Bennett, Sister Maria Vida Cordero, and Director Gemma Cunanan. Good afternoon. From NAPOLCOM, we have Mr. Delphine Gayatao Jr. and Attorney Arnold Minya.
NAPOLCOM, okay.
From the Commission on Human Rights, Dr. Renante Basas. From the Department of Justice, we have State Counsel Arceli Ragsac and State Counsel Herminia Natividad. From the Department of Foreign Affairs, we have Director Lorena Joy Banagodos. From the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, we have Attorney Nasser Marohom Salik. From the De La Salle College of St. Benilde, we have Vice Chancellor Carmelita Lazatin. And we have Mr. Aurelio Servando. We are also joined today by the General Counsel of the Committee, Attorney Anel Diaz. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Claire. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for attending today's hearing. Let us start with the resolutions on torture. There are 2 resolutions, and they both mention Amnesty International. Thank you, Director Bennett, for being here. Have you prepared a presentation for us? Okay, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to make this presentation. First of all, I'd like to seek your permission to show a very short 6-minute video that we have prepared.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Alas 5 ng hapon, nagdatingan bigla ang mahigit 10 lalaking nakamotor. Nagsitakbo sila papalapit sa bahay. Nagulat na lang ako na ako pala ang kanilang pakay. May karga silang mga baril. Bigla na lang ako tinutukan ng 45. Tapa! Sigaw nila. Nampas nila ako ng baril sa ulo. Kinadyakan sa katawan. Sinapak sa liig. Sinuntok sa tagiliran at sinipmuraan. Wala sa kanila na uniforme kaya nagtanong ako. Sumigaw ako, "Sir, ano po ba kayo? Pulis po ba kayo? Kung pulis kayo, ano kasalanan ko sa inyo? May warrant ba kayo?" Pero wala daw akong karapatang magtanong. Pinusasan nila ako sa likod, pinaladkad. Walang tigil na pinagsisipa at pinagsusuntok. Dinala ako sa Camp Pepito. Doon ko nalaman na pulis pala sila. 4 na pulis ang bumuwat sa akin sa magkabilang kamay at paa. Habang patuloy akong pinagsusuntok ng isa. Dinala nila ako sa isang conference room sa loob ng kampo. Ang dami nila doon. Pinagpasapasahan nila ako. Suntok, sipa sa dibdib. Piniringan nila ako tapos hinampas nila ako ng yantok sa talampakan. Paulit-ulit. Sipa, suntok. Dasal na lang nasa isip ko. Ama namin, Baginoong Maria. Hindi ako madasalin. Pero nung gabi yun, tinawag ko na yata lahat ng santo. Hindi ko na naiintindihan ng mga tanong. Mas mabilis ang suntok to, hindi ako makasagot. Sinigurado nila na di ko sila makita. Pinusasan nila ako sa paa. Sipa. Suntok na naman. Papatayin ba nila ako? Hindi ko na ba makikita ang pamilya ko? Ako raw ang bumaril sa isang pulis sa Pampanga. Binaril at ninakawan ko daw ang isang foreigner. Pero wala akong alam sa mga ibinibintang nila. Bandang alas 9, kumuha sila ng tubig. Hinawakan ako ng 4 na pulis. Nilagyan ako ng panyo sa bibig. Sabay buhos ng tubig. Tuloy-tuloy lang. Tuloy-tuloy hanggang sa di na ako makahinga. Parang nalulunod na ako. Tuloy pa rin ang pagtatanong. Kumuha sila ng wire na may kuryente. Narinig kong lumalagatok pag nagsalpok yung wire na may kuryente. Tapos kinuryente nila ako sa may likod, tagiliran at hita. Malalambot kapag nakuryente ka, paulit-ulit. Naririnig ko ang boses nila. Hindi ko makakalimutan ang boses nila. Mga lampas sa ating gabi, huminto sila. Bandang madaling araw, tinanggal na ang piring ko at busal sa Dinala ako sa DEU at doon kinulong. Binalik uli sa kampo. Doon pala naghihintay yung kapatid at asawa ko. Nag-aalala dahil di nila ako makita sa mga kulungan. 8 araw pa ang lumipas bago ako pinamedical. Magaling ng mga pasako at konting sugat na lang. Kahit doon, hindi ko maikwento sa doktor ang sinapit ko. Paano ko ikukwento ni mga pulis sa tabi ko? Dito sa kulungan, 6 na beses akong binalikan ng mga pulis at ng kanilang mga padrino. Nakikipag-areglo at pinapapirma ako ng affidavit of assistance. Pero buong loob akong tumanggi. At nagsampa ako ng kriminal na kaso ng torture. Kahit sa korte, walang takot akong nilapitan ng mga padrino ng nanorture sa akin. Ako si Jeremy Core. Tahimik ang buhay ko noon hanggang sa arestuhin, torturin, at ikulong ng mga pulis. 2 taon na ako nakakulong. Habang ang mga nanorture sa akin, malayang namumuhay. Malayang makakapag-torture muli.
Yes, sir.
Jeremy,
Go ahead, sir.
thank you. Jeremy Corey is one of 55 cases that were researched by Amnesty International, and those were his words in a statement made to us, but this was an actor in the video. It's not Jeremy Corey himself. Mr. Chairman, we're delighted at Amnesty International, which, as you know, is a global international human rights organization, that you've decided to take up the issue of torture in the Philippines. It's not a pleasant subject, but it's necessary to take it up, and it's an initiative that I'm confident the people of Philippines, and your constituents included, will appreciate. As I'm sure you do, Amnesty International also recognizes that the police are a very important institution, and they have a tough job to do. However, torture's inexcusable everywhere and always. By committing torture, police brutalize the victims, and it's irrelevant whether the victims are guilty or innocent of a crime. But they also damage their own institution and themselves as human beings. Moreover, torture does not work. It seldom produces reliable evidence, and in any case, the evidence is inadmissible in court. Philippines has made commitments in domestic and in international law to prevent torture and to hold perpetrators to account. However, as Amnesty International's report, Above the Law, which was released here in Manila last December, shows, torture remains prevalent in the Philippines, in Philippines detention centers, with most of it perpetrated by the PNP. This is despite the anti-torture law being adopted in 2009, under which not one person has been convicted so far. Torture is committed in quite a few countries in this region, so why is Amnesty International focusing on the Philippines? Amnesty International has started a global anti-torture campaign in 2014, and we're focusing on 5 countries globally, 1 in each continent. And for Asia, we selected the Philippines. We have not chosen the countries which are necessarily the worst perpetrators of torture. We've chosen countries because, in our assessment, there is a real chance of improvements, of change. Philippines has already gone more than halfway by passing the anti-torture law, and before that by ratifying international conventions against torture, including the Torture Convention and OPCAT. You've got, in our view, most of the laws that are needed. What is needed now is to ensure that they're fully implemented. Amnesty's report and the presentation I'm making focuses on the need to prevent torture through stopping the impunity of perpetrators. This is a key step, but building a professional, trustworthy police service that has the confidence of the people is a real challenge. There's no single or quick fix solution. In addition to enforceable and enforced laws, leadership, adequate resources for the police, and professional development are all necessary. A piecemeal approach simply won't work. Now, I would like to go through some slides to complete my presentation.
Excuse me, sir. Before we leave the case of Mr. Corre, so he has filed a case.
Yes.
So meaning to say he has been able to identify some, if not all, of those who tortured him. Do you know the case number, the case title, and where it is pending?
I can provide that information, sorry. Yes, NPC, it's in NPC Angeles City. The case number? We can provide the case number later. It's not
NPC,
actually in
yes,
our
okay.
report, but we can provide that.
Okay, so that has been filed also way back in 2012?
2012, yes. Yes, sir.
And still pending as of the
Yeah.
moment. Okay, so how many are the accused in that case? How many policemen?
There were only 2 accused in that case.
Only 2. So
Yes.
out of he estimated around 10 who ran towards him, right? That was his initial statement. So he was able to identify only 2.
Yes.
So is the PNP aware of this case, Chief Superintendent Villacorte? Are you aware, sir, of this particular case?
No, sir, but I'll try to find out. This is not handled by the CIDG. I'm from CIDG, sir. Probably the local police will...
Kaya so, ang gusto sabihin, it did not make a fuss in the PNP that some of your people have been charged with torture? Walang bulong-bulungan sa PNP?
Wala po. In this particular case, wala po.
Okay, sige. Thank you, Chief Superintendent. Director Bennett, please.
I turn the microphone on. As I mentioned already, Amnesty International released its report. It examines and documents 55 cases of torture. We interviewed this sample of people. The interviews were conducted in 2 periods, November-December 2013 and August-September 2014. I'll also just mention that out of these 55 victims, 21 were children, that is, they were under 18. This slide shows a graph of the complaints of torture that have been made to the Commission on Human Rights from the period 2001 through to 2013. And as you can see, over time, there's a little bit of up and down, but generally the graph is going up. More cases are being reported. There may be a number of reasons for this. Perhaps the Commission may want to comment on that, including the passing of the Anti-Torture Act in 2009, because it seemed to go up after that. But just to note as well, that of the 75 cases in 2013, 60 out of the 75 were complaints against the PNP. The next slide is similar in that it shows a pie chart of the alleged perpetrators. By far the largest group is the PNP, but there's also AFP, BJMP, other government officials, PD, EA, NPA, and CIDG. Next slide. So, according to our research, who is most at risk? And I think almost it's more important to go to the bottom of this slide first. Almost all the victims come from poor or disadvantaged backgrounds. And then when we start to disaggregate that, those most at risk seem to be children under 18, those suspected of being juvenile offenders, suspects who already have criminal records, suspects whose alleged crimes personally affected police officers, also more at risk of being tortured, informal police auxiliaries, that is, who have fallen out of favor with the police themselves, suspected members of armed groups, and political activists. What are the methods of torture used and documented in our report? I won't go through this whole list, but you can you saw some of them described by in the statement by Jeremy Corey, but they include electric shocks, beatings, burning with cigarettes, waterboarding, use of plastic bags to near asphyxiate people, some sexual abuse, including this example, but also examples of rape, being forced to assume stressful positions for long periods of time, threats of execution, and almost acting out executions, and denial of food and water. Next slide is also looking at why the torture takes place. This is obviously a pretty complicated issue, but some of the points that at Amnesty International we've identified that the police force is overstretched and under-resourced. There are, if I'm correct, around 147,000 police in the Philippines for a population of more than 100 million. This is a very low police to population ratio. It's lower than in most countries, and it's lower than the recommended proportion by international bodies, including the United Nations. As a result, there is a temptation to take shortcuts to solve cases due to this lack of not just of manpower, but also lack of, for example, forensic resources, forensic training that would assist in investigations. There are ineffective implementation of safeguards, such as irregularities surrounding arrests, incommunicado detention, secret places of detention, unofficial detention, a predisposition to obtain information or confessions, whether or not they're true, torture used as de facto punishment, or in extortion or corruption means the use of auxiliaries due to the shortage of manpower. And of course, we've also referred to the case of this wheel of torture being used, where it appeared that police were using torture for their own entertainment. Perhaps above all, there's a lack of consequences for torturing, and as I've mentioned already and is repeated in the report several times, there has not been one conviction since the passing of the Anti-Torture Act in 2009, which is now going into its 6th year. And perhaps there are also not rewards for good conduct within the police, because this should not be just a matter of punishment, it also ought to be a matter of incentives for good conduct. Final point on this slide is that the reports we've received are that the PNP culture is marked by desensitization to violence, and I notice that, Mr. Chairman, the other part of this session today is to be devoted to hazing, which is related to that desensitization to violence. Next slide looks at barriers to justice. That is why victims do not file complaints. There are some complaints, as I've noted, but it is the tip of the iceberg in Amnesty International's opinion. There's a lack of adequate information about how to lodge a complaint. There are fears of reprisals if complaints are lodged as a result of intimidation and threats. The criminal complaints mechanisms are ineffective, and there are also other obstacles to prosecution. For example, there's a lack of immediate access to effective medical examinations, which are very important in torture cases. And you'll notice you remember in the video of Jeremy Corey that he said it was 8 days before he got a medical examination. That is common, that it's at least that amount of time, and by that time the evidence may have already healed to some degree. It's also a very lengthy, complicated process, and I'm going to give some more examples of that in the next 2 slides. There are multiple administrative mechanisms that have enforcement authority where in theory people can take their complaints of torture. However, it's very difficult to negotiate all of these different mechanisms, such as the PNP Command, the PNP Internal Affairs Service, the National Police Commission, the People's Law Enforcement Board, the Ombudsman, and the Civil Service Commission. There are actually other bodies as well, including the Commission for Human Rights, which are not mentioned on this slide. I think on this slide we focused on those which we call more administrative mechanisms. But just the next slide, I'm not going to try and explain this next slide in detail. I think the idea of presenting this slide, where you see the different mechanisms along the top, is to show how difficult it is to follow the system. If you're an ordinary person, how can you understand how to negotiate this system for making a complaint? The lines indicate what procedures people should follow to each of these bodies. And this slide is very small, it's impossible to read, but we would be happy to explain this to you in more detail outside of this hearing, or to provide it to you in writing later. Now, the final part of my presentation is to look forward and to ask what can the Senate do to improve this situation. And Amnesty International is focusing on 4 things that we are asking today. The first is to convene the Oversight Committee of the Anti-Torture Act, which I understand may have been convened only once so far. And we suggest that the committee initiates a review of the existing administrative accountability bodies for police abuse and human rights violations. Those bodies were briefly touched on in the previous 2 slides. To streamline the process of holding perpetrators to account, and to avoid overlapping jurisdictions and contradictory rulings. And this review, in our opinion, should include, where appropriate, the dissolution of redundant bodies whose mandate partially covers investigating, adjudicating, and ordering administrative sanctions for police officers. And we also have some ideas of which laws and regulations should be reviewed, and certainly I can provide detail on that if you wish. The second recommendation we have is the establishment of an independent police complaints commission with the following powers and characteristics. It should be fully independent, that is, and including being free from the influence of the PNP, centralized, accessible to members of the public, particularly in the regions, required to report publicly on its activities, mandated and resourced to receive complaints on and investigations, allegations of human rights abuses by the police, to have subpoena, contempt, and other powers to facilitate evidence gathering, that is, and authorized to procure and receive evidence and examine witnesses, to have the mandate and resources to provide protection to complainants, victims, and witnesses, and also to be mandated to preventively suspend police officers and to file complaints against the police before the criminal prosecutor, and to refer disciplinary cases to proper administrative bodies. The third recommendation Amnesty International has is the establishment of a national preventive mechanism for torture, as required under the OPCAT, the Optional Protocol on the Convention Against Torture, with the following powers and resources: functional independence from the government, competent staff, necessary resources, authority to regularly examine the treatment of persons deprived of liberty in all places of detention, to make recommendations to the authorities to improve the treatment and conditions of people deprived of liberty, and to submit proposals and observations concerning existing or draft legislation. Just as a comment, there's quite a bit of evidence that in other countries, unannounced visits to detention centers by a body authorized like this one, or by a body like the Commission on Human Rights, have proved effective in deterring ill treatment and torture. So that is another recommendation of ours, unannounced visits. And finally, we'd also suggest that the Senate may wish to request support from friendly governments and to assist the Philippines and the PNP to improve its practices, that is, to prevent torture, to ensure accountability for past torture, and to support the survivors and victims' families. And these are areas of support. Now, final slide, or second to final slide. Why now? Well, it's 5 years since the enactment of the Anti-Torture Act, and there's been no convictions yet. There's an ongoing PNP reform bill spearheaded by the Senate Committee on Public Order. There's also the opportunity for the Philippines to shine as a human rights leader in the region by taking up this matter. And I'll add a couple more, which are not on the slide. One of them is that the UN Subcommittee on the Prevention of Torture will be visiting Philippines this year. there's also the fact that the creation of an independent police complaints commission would be a very good sign in response to the various controversies that have surrounded the PNP in recent times. And finally, it would also stand Philippines in good stead when your country assumes the ASEAN leadership in 2017. And finally, I'd like to end with a quote from one of the torture victims, who, Jonathan, not his real name, who was only 17, and I mentioned how many of the victims are under 18. Where he said, I used to want to be a policeman when I grew up, but seeing how they operate, I've now given up on that dream. I can't forget what they did to me. I will never forget. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Also, my colleagues, Sister Vida and Gemma, may also wish to make some comments.
Thank you, Director Bennett. I understand you gave a copy of your report to the PNP, right? To the Philippine National Police months ago.
Yes, we gave the copy to the PNP, I think, very early December.
Early December, to the PNP leadership.
Yes, sir.
So, and you mentioned 55 cases. This is 55 cases out of the 70 plus reported to the CHR involved PNP. Is that the significance of 55?
Not exactly. What I said was, of the 75 cases in 2013, this wasn't 2014, the 2014 figures at the time we made the report were not yet completed, but 2030, 60 of those involved the PNP.
60 of 75?
Yes, but of the 55 cases where we interviewed the victims, that covered a different period of time. It wasn't all in 2013. Some were from 2012, 13, maybe even 14, but it was a longer period.
Okay. So maybe we can get the reaction from the PNP. Chief Superintendent Villacorte.
Thank you for the report, sir. The PNP now, sir, is doing everything it can. We also, to remove this kind of reports and reported torture against the police. In the past, sir, kahit sir sa amin, in trainings, we also receive this kind of reports. That is why pinagbabawal po talaga ito sa amin, ang torture. And everybody na mahuhuli, o even report lang, sir, iniimbestigahan, sir, ito dahil talagang, ang sabi nga namin, kung diyan mag-uumpisa ang pagte-training pa lang ng pulis sa torture, eh, mali na, sir, ang umpisa ng pagpupulis.
To the PNPA?
Even sa recruitment po, sir, namin, even sa recruitment po, sir, which is being done every 6 months. Continuous po, sir, ang training doon eh. Kasi dinadala po yan sa mga training centers, iba-ibang regional training centers ng ating PNP. So, kung minsan, sir, may nare-report yan, sir, na mga masasabi na rin nating tinotorture dahil may mga physical contact na nangyayari. Pinagbabawal pong mahigpit yan. At lahat po ng gumagawa niyan, yung mga training staff o kung sino pa man na mahuhuli at maano dyan, sir, ay tinatanggal po, sir, kaagad yan. Pinaimbestigahan, sir, kaagad. And I think dun sa leadership po ng ating OIC ngayon, si General Espina, who is a disciplinarian sa pagkakakilala po ng lahat ng marami, ay lalo pa, sir, iigting ang pagmamonitor dun sa mga training, sir, natin sa kapulisan ng ganyang klaseng mga masasamang balita.
Can you inform this committee of the new or additional things or programs which you will do under the leadership of Espina to combat torture, hazing, this culture of desensitization to violence in the PNPA and the PNP?
I do not have the exact programs ngayon, sir, na hawak, sir, namin. But I am sure, sir, na meron.
Can you relay the request of this committee to
yes,
acting PNP chief? Kasi you express confidence under his leadership. All the more you will now you will be able to minimize torture committed by police not only to the public but also to their trainees, sabi mo eh.
Opo, sir.
But there must be some concrete plans or programs why you are so confident that this will happen.
Yes, sir. I will relay this, sir, to the PNP leadership, and hopefully by the next meeting, kung kami po ay maimbitahan ulit, we can relay kung ano yung mga...
But when we sent you the invitation, did you know that you will be talking about the Amnesty International report?
I was only advised yesterday afternoon about my coming here, sir. Hindi, sir, talaga ako...
Kaya you were not able to prepare properly.
Yes, sir, because I'm not the original person to be invited on this one, sir.
Siguro the secretary will prepare a letter to the acting chief, no, why the PNP did not send somebody who prepared for this Amnesty International report. Kasi my next question to you is what actions have been taken by the PNP to address the issues raised by the Amnesty International report? Hindi mo rin ako masagot.
Yes, sir.
Because you were only told yesterday.
I haven't even seen the report, sir.
Precisely.
Yes, sir.
That was given early December, I know. Well, anyway, pakirelay, sir,
Apo, sir.
kay disciplinarian, acting PNP chief, sabi nyo.
Yes,
He's
sir.
a disciplinarian.
Yes, sir.
But there must be concrete plans, siguro. Ikaw, sir, how long have you been with the PNP?
Since it's, sir, since 1991. I've
Okay,
been
PNP,
with the
but before,
PC before.
PC before. So,
Yes, sir.
you've been with the police forces or the armed service, ilan na, 40 years?
Since 1983, sir.
83. Okay. So, how many seminars are there seminars given to you as members of the police regularly on how to respect the rights of even suspects, on torture, on how to prevent torture?
Yes, sir. It's mandatory, sir. Sa lahat po ng courses namin, sa officers po, sir, when you go on basic officers course, yung pong advanced officers course, lahat po yan hanggang makarating po, sir, dun sa OSEC na tinatawag namin for senior officers. Kasama po palagi yung program on human rights. Meron po tayong palaging subjects na pinag-uusapan.
So, human rights yung title ng ating module. For example, may
Yes,
seminar ka, upo ka ng 1 to 2 hours, module, human rights.
Yes, sir.
Pero ano po yung nauuwi ninyong thought? Anong idea po yung nauuwi ninyo after attending the module, the seminar? What about human rights?
Ang pinag-uusapan po dyan, sir, ay kung paano hindi na mangyayari yung mga nare-report, sir, na nangyayari. Kagaya nga po, sir, sa training, yung mga ganyan po, sir. Anong mga disciplinary measures ang po pwede, sir, na ibigay dun sa mga nagkakasala dahil opisyal po, sir, kami po, sir, mag-iimbestiga ng mga pulis namin na mai-involve po dyan, sir. Ganun pong mga bagay, sir, mga pinag-uusapan, sir.
Nabanggit mo yun sa basic officers, advanced officers course, pero how about sa sa rank and file? How is the leadership inculcating in the rank and file the respect for human rights, the avoiding torture, shortcuts?
Ganon din po, sir, sa kanila naman, sir, dun sa mga basic training, sir, nila, kasama rin po yan. Then dun sa pagka-umangat ka na po, sir, yung junior leadership course nila, kasama po rin.
You have enough lecturers to talk to all of the rank and file, to lecture to the rank and file? Meron kayong mga lecturers dyan?
Meron po, sir. Dahil mandatory po, sir, yan. Karaniwan po ang nagko-conduct niyan yung PPSC o yung Public Safety College po, sir, natin. Doon po, sir, ginagawa yan. Mandatory courses po yun, sir.
Okay, lahat yung 100, ilan ba tayo ngayon sa PNP? 120,000?
More or less 150,000.
150,000. All of those, masasabi natin, dumaan
Yes, sir.
sa how many hours of lecture on the need to respect the human rights of even the suspects?
I'm not sure about the number, sir, pero I can say na lahat po yan, sir, dumaan. 100%.
Okay, pero siyempre, hindi lang naman pwedeng, kailangan talagang constant reminder ito, no? What can you say, Dr. Basas of the CHR? Is that enough? Yung mga seminar, does it really work? Or how do we really inculcate in them yung maging anong tawag mo dyan, maging habit to respect human rights?
Thank you po, Mr. Chair. Yung seminars po kasi hindi lang dapat mag-seminar, dapat there should be sustained trainings, seminars about human rights human rights education and the anti-torture law also. So I think it's not enough to do a seminar. They should have to incorporate the principles and the human rights based approach on management, on doing prison reforms, and on doing investigation of tortures and so forth and so on. So I think there's a lot to do about these things. It's not only seminar.
For example, sa PNP or sa, let's say, sa Armed Forces, I'm sure mayroon din sila mga module dyan on respect for human rights. Dumaan po ba sa CHR yung mga module na yun?
Yung iba po dumadaan pero yung iba hindi.
At iba dumadaan din talaga. They really get your opinion on how to improve the
cooperation of our education center.
Amnesty International, do you think is a seminar on modules on human rights can already encompass this concern for torture? Or does it have to be a specific module on the anti-torture law?
No, sir. I think the Commission for Human Rights is correct. It needs to be more than is done so far. It needs to be general, that is about human rights. It needs to be specific about the International Convention Against Torture, and then even more specific at the Philippines level on the anti-torture law. I would also like to say that I don't know the PNP, but what I've been told is that the training is often at too high a level. The more senior officers go to the training, but the torture is done by the officers, the junior officers in the local police stations. They're the staff who require the training.
And we'd also
Yes, Director Corana.
Yes, with due respect, Senator, we'd also like to add that to Superintendent Villacorte, we would really like, you have a program of model police stations. There are qualifications for the police stations to be recognized as model police stations. Does it include that there should be zero allegations of torture? These are things, if it is all right with you, that we'd like to really look at checklists that you may have for these recognition or these awards, so that we can also put more teeth. Because although we do believe in training and sustained training, we'd like to see the application of whatever our officers pick up during the training. We all know that training is all mental, but when it comes to application, there can be a very large gap there. So even in your, for example, in your precincts, it would be good if there can be posters there that can already put that the policemen are not, these are the rights of people that you capture, and you are not allowed to do torture. These are visible things that you can do, so that it now augments the training that you do to the officers or to the higher level. This one now is are very clear rules that they can follow, that these things that they should not do. So Amnesty would like to coordinate with you on those matters, Superintendent, if that's all right.
That's a good suggestion, Chief Superintendent.
Yes, sir. Well taken, sir.
And you have a guidebook now, PNP guidebook on human rights-based policing. Tama?
Yes, sir.
Policing.
In fact, sir, we have an office, the Human Rights Affairs Office, which is headed by Chief Superintendent Viernes. Yun po, sir, ang head ng ating, who monitors all yung ganitong mga cases po, sir, sa lahat ng nangyayari sa buong kapulisan, sir, ng PNP.
So, ang suggestion nga yata is to make it more visible. Parang, visual reminders, no? Maganda rin nga sana kung meron din tayong poster on the remedies available. But not that but not that slide that you showed. That wouldn't serve as a poster on to guide the victims. That's why I'm going to ask the NAPOLCOM. Is NAPOLCOM available as a body to run to in cases of torture?
Yes, sir. The complainants can the victims of torture can go to NAPOM to file complaints against these police officers. In addition to those, since there are many bodies exercising concurrent jurisdiction over the PNP.
Pleb. Can they run to the pleb also?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can they run to the CHR? Diba, yun yun. Do we have 75 cases? What happens, sir, after the... balik ako sa NAPOLCOM. Has there even been a case of torture referred to the NAPOLCOM?
There were cases referred to NAPOLCOM, like for example the case of Binayog and the Will of Fortune. Yes, sir. But these cases were handled first by the police. So NAPOLCOM, since there was already an office that took cognizance of the case, no longer took cognizance of the so it is with respect to those two cases, it is the PNP who handled the like for example the Will of Torture. I believe from my information gathered, the police officers involved were already dismissed from the service. I'm not so.
How many, sir? How many?
I'm not sure how many, sir, but
is that confirmed, Amnesty? Will of torture? If
with our information, was that there were 23 police officers who there were 23 complaints against against the 23. They've been brought before the prosecutor's office. Five people withdrew of the 23 withdrew. But all the rest are still awaiting a resolution. Whether the police officers have been dismissed, I cannot confirm, but there have been no convictions.
But that's different. Conviction from termination.
Yes, sir. With respect to administrative case, from the information I have gathered, these police officers were already dismissed. Yes, sir. I think the PNP can verify if.
Chief Superintendent Villacorte, what's the procedure for dismissal? Kasi, for example, may complaint against, let's say, 18 police officers for the Wheel of Fortune. How long will it take? And what is the process?
Can I request our legal sir to answer?
Just state your name, sir. Pañero.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Superintendent Aswita, sir, of the Criminal Investigation Detection Group. So far, sir, all cases, reported cases regarding torture, hazing, once it is filed in any disciplinary authority, it will be acted upon. So, through summary hearing proceedings. So, of course, it will be subjected to, in an administrative matter, through pre-charge evaluations. Then, once we recommend, because there's a probable cause, then it will be reported to the disciplinary authority. Then the disciplinary authority will assign summary hearing officer. So they will be given 60 days to hear the case. So once the case is being reviewed, then it will be submitted to the disciplinary authority again for his final approval as to the recommendations in terms of disciplinary matters or internal. However, once there's a case filed directly to the concerned personnel of the PNP on violation of torture and anti-hazing law, of course, automatic administrative case also will be filed against him. So far, sir, the PNP is not remiss in terms of this addressing the problem of torture. Actually, we have the Human Rights Affairs Officer. We have Human Rights Affairs Office down to the police station. Just in the police station, then we have in the region, it's RAW regional level, and we have the PNP, it's RAW. So in the PNP, sir, we have our focus on human rights-based policing. So, we always emphasize in our POP, yung police operational procedures namin regarding human rights. Always, the priority ng PNP in terms of law enforcement and other operations to prioritize the human rights concern. So far, sir, we have a human rights upper office really focusing on this issue, sir. Actually, tandem sila po, sir, ng CHR. So, yung report...
Lagyan natin sa real life. For example, merong isang reklamo niya, tinorture ako ng isang pulis, anong gagawin niya? Saan siya punta?
Okay, sir, of course, kung yung police, sir, sa area, hindi siya magre-report din, sir, mismo sa police station, kasi in reality, medyo takot siya, sir, kasi
yes, sir.
under. So, pwede po siya pumunta directly sa IAS, sa provincial IAS,
Okay, provincial IAS.
or sa provincial director
provincial, okay,
for
PD.
reporting.
Okay.
But of course sa IAS, para sa kasi violation of human rights yun, torture, sa PDA Congressan ng IAS. Ayun, pwede po rin siya pumunta sa Napolcom po, sir. Walang problema po yun, sir. Then, pwede siya mag-private file sa court.
So, kunyari sa inyo, I want to see, I want to go through your processes. Sa inyo, and how long will it take?
Mabilis po, sir, basta pumunta
Diba
sa...
summary, ang sabi mo, summary.
Iyon po, sir, for example, kung idadalhin, pupunta siya sa CIDG po, sa CIDG, PNP, actionan agad po siya, sir. Of course, administrative, yung criminal aspect, sir, ipiprepare din ng CIDG, sir.
Huwag na yung criminal kasi pupunta sa korte yun. Alam, yung sa inyo lang, yung sa inyo. So, how long? When you will have a decision whether to dismiss or not to dismiss the respondent?
Of course, sir, subject pa rin, sir, sa due process, sir.
Ilan na? Mga ilang months?
So, sabi natin, sir, basta mag-attend, sir, lahat ng mga witnesses, sir, kahit within 60 days, sir, kaya yan, sir, tapusin, sir. 60
days would be the ideal, pero more or less, in reality.
Of course, sir, more
Have you dismissed police officers due to torture?
So far, sir, wala akong record, sir, kasi usually, sir, ang nagiging
sige, based on other dismissal based on other complaints.
Meron, sir.
Meron. How long did the process take? More than 60 days.
More than 60 days.
Ilang more or less 6 months, ganun?
Meron, ganyan, sir.
1 year?
Of course, kasi ang iba, sir, nag-a-appeal pa, sir, eh.
Appeal sa loob din ng PNP, ano?
Yes, sir. Of course, sir, kasi meron kami rin na parang appeal
okay, plus the appeal process, ilan? 2 years? Ganun na?
Mga ganyan, sir. Naabot ng ganyan. Kasi may nag-a-appeal sila, sir, eh. Parang korte rin, sir, ang
2 years, ha? Okay, yes, Attorney Minya.
Actually, with respect to PNP cases, we are following one circular, the Memorandum Circular 2007-001. This includes Napolcom, PNP, IAS, pleb. So they follow one MC. Yes, sir.
Nakasulat doon. Mabilis dapat 'yan.
At present, sir, we follow the trial type, sir. So medyo mabagal, sir, yung process. But we are
from experience, sir, from filing to decision whether to terminate or not. Gaano katagal?
Matagal, sir, eh.
Taon
Usually,
din, taon?
Hearing would take 2 to 5 years.
2 to 5 years.
Because trial type, sir, yung
hindi pa yan whether to go to jail or not, iba yan, ha?
Iba,
kasi
sir,
ano lang yan, ano?
Kasi usually pag sir yan, pag trial type is daming postponements. So but now, sir, we are now revising the procedure, and we are trying to adopt the position paper, only position paper, so that we could...
So you're reviewing MC 2007-001.
Yes, sir.
You're following that in your legal services?
Yes, sir. Yan po ang sinusunod namin, sir. So para, sir, kasi substantial evidence lang kami, sir, eh.
Who issued this MC?
Napolcom, sir.
Siguro we'll get a copy of this memorandum circular and help you review the memorandum circular.
We are, sir, in the process of...
Kasi 2 to 5 years daw. So, Judge, parang korte din. I think we invited you, Judge Paras, to give us data on torture cases? If do you have information, Judge, on the pending cases?
Your Honor, first I was only informed of this hearing this morning, so I was not able to get any report. But in fact, I wanted really to know because I was hearing the cases being reported by the PNP. And so far as the PJ is concerned, we are just awaiting these cases to be filed in our courts. And once this is filed, we will swiftly do our job in disposing this case. But as for now, I do not have any data in so far as torture cases.
But one thing is that the administrative and the criminal can be simultaneously running, di ba? Simultaneously be heard. So it doesn't mean that 2 years dito, then another 2 years to 4 years, and it the same 2 years yun, di ba, Judge? Yes, Mr. Gayatao.
Mr. Chairman, in addition, the torture law as well as the hazing is a grave offense. Then the Commission will act and advise the complainants to file a motion for preventive suspension for 90 days, although it's not a penalty. That's what we are doing, sir. So upon complaint received at our office, then we immediately advise the complainant to file a preventive suspension so that it will be act. However, sometimes the PNP in media sinibak, but it is not a dismissal. It is only transfer of office. That's why misnomer sometimes, sir. And we are acting and working hand in hand with the PNP for that matter, sir.
That information. Yes, Dr. Basas.
Additional comment. Yeah, as we know, it's a region 4, which discovered the well of torture, and as a result of that, it has investigated 23 alleged cases of torture perpetrated by the police, and at present, there is already a preliminary hearings conducted in the DOJ, and the CSR has been monitoring this very actively. We also provide protection for the witnesses of this. In fact, we have some witnesses under our witness protection program right now. And in fairness also with the PNP has initiated summary dismissal proceedings against the respondents. And as a result, there were four police respondents who were already dismissed because of this. Thank you. Just an information.
How long did it take to dismiss the 4? Yun ang gusto ko I want to look at the effectiveness
Just
of the remedy.
months after the discovery, I think 2 to 3 months.
Itong will of torture.
Just this last year.
Anong month and year? 2014, anong year yun? Anong month na yun? So January,
February,
let's say January, February 2014, and then they were dismissed mga
November or December something. I'm not sure
so
with
mga
the exact date.
10 months, 10
Yeah.
months, or may plus appeal na siguro yun. So 10 months. Okay, we look at the effectiveness of the remedy, but that's as far as their job, no, as their tenure as police officers, no, not the criminal case, no, not the criminal. Because the report of Amnesty is 0 convictions. You're looking at the criminal cases, right? No. DOJ, ano po masasabi natin? Undergoing preliminary hearings daw yun, yung cases na yun. So,
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can you also comment on the 0 convictions though, as observed by the Amnesty International on torture cases?
Based on the data of the AO 35, the Interagency Committee addressing the cases of extrajudicial killings, torture, enforced disappearance, and other grave violation of the right to life, liberty, and security of persons. So far, we have, out of the 93 cases that were referred to us, 53 cases were validated, plus 2, so we have 55 validated torture cases. They are all under with the DOJ or filed with some are filed with the court. In fact, I have a complete list of the cases where they are filed, but I left it in the office. But we are monitoring, and some of them were being referred to the SIT, which is the special composite team to investigate these cases. Now, we are in close coordination with the CHR for all these cases, and they are being closely monitored by the office, because we are also our office is one with CHR that spearheaded the IRR of the anti-torture and the comprehensive rehabilitation program, and we are very keen on addressing this matter. In fact, under the AO 35, we are conducting orientation seminars for the including the prosecutors and police, and it was being participated by PNP NBI regional directors from Cebu and another one in Clark, Pampanga. It is ongoing. So aside from the trainings being conducted by the PNP and the CHR, we are also conducting our trainings on torture, extrajudicial killings, and all other human rights. So, and we are also offering our services should they need any speaker or lecturer, because I myself is giving free services to other NGOs in delivering trainings and lectures to, especially to torture. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
55 validated torture cases. As far as you can recall, State Council Natividad, all are still pending? Pending pa rin talaga. Okay. So,
Mr. Chair, these cases covered from 2001 to 2010, and from July 2010 to November 2014. But they are all pending, Your Honor.
but before the anti-torture law, you cannot call them torture yet, di ba? That's before 2009, di ba? Hindi siya torture. Baka physical, ano lang? Physical injuries.
But there are some cases that are continuing.
Can you give this committee the list
Yes,
which
yes,
you
we
forgot in your office? Is the NBI, Amnesty International, is the NBI involved in your study? Have you documented some torture perpetrated by NBI people?
That it's not part of our study. We did we did talk to them. We had meetings, but we've not included cases of NBI conduct.
Well, you believe there are NBI cases?
We're not aware of cases.
So,
No.
Attorney Tobera, yes.
Good afternoon to everyone, to the Honorable Chairman. The foregoing discussion dwell more on the prevention on cases of torture. In the NBI, we believe in the adage prevention is better than cure. And I believe my counterparts from the PNP also has this manual of operation. In our end, we have this manual of operation at the same time our investigative kit, such that the moment an NBI investigator got hold of a suspect, we have to observe some procedural steps. Like, we have to accord him his constitutional rights, the Miranda warnings, but more important one is we have to subject him to undergo a medical examination. Before we present the suspect to an inquest prosecutor, another medical examination shall be conducted. After that, before we will turn over the suspect to a jail or to a temporary custodial center, another medical examination shall be conducted. This is to ensure that the law enforcement agencies, particularly the NBI agents, observe the statutory and constitutional rights of the suspects. That is the very reason, maybe, why there was no record so far from the Amnesty International on torture cases that was filed against NBI officials.
You have sufficient personnel, especially the medical staff, to do all of those requirements?
Yes, sir, but in areas where we do not have medical doctors, we can ask the assistance from other institutions like hospitals.
Government hospitals?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so and there's never been a problem. You need a medical checkup for the detainee, and then they conduct it immediately.
Yes, sir.
So maybe the police can
just
also
proper coordination.
Maybe the police can also do such a setup or arrangement with the government hospitals. Chief. Okay, may we hear from the DFA? Kasi may this committee be informed of the international conventions or treaties that our country is a signatory to regarding subject matter of torture? And do you monitor our compliance?
Sir, good afternoon. Your Honor, I don't know if Ms. Claire was able to give you the folder, but this folder contains our inputs for this hearing. Essentially, the Philippines ratified the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment on June 18, 1986, and as well as the optional protocol on the Convention Against Torture. This was ratified in April 2012. And following that, the Philippines was invited by the United Nations to prepare state party reports to monitor compliance to this two conventions, rather to the convention as well as the OPCAT. So far, the Philippines has submitted 3 reports. The first report was submitted in April 1989. Second report was in January 2008. And then the third report was recently submitted by our permanent mission in Geneva on November 25, 2014. That is our third report po. November 25, 2014. So we will be up for revalida sometime this year po, but we still have to get, of course, advice from our mission in Geneva. But so far, sir, under the AO number 163, which is basically an expansion, increasing and strengthening the membership of the Presidential Human Rights Committee under the Office of the Executive Secretary, we basically that AO 35 established an expansion of membership for the Presidential Human Rights Committee, whereby we were able to designate lead agencies when it comes to preparing our reports for the compliance to this to the 8 international conventions that the Philippines is a signatory to, has ratified. So on the part of the Convention on Torture, our lead agency po is the Department of Interior and Local Government. And essentially what happens is on the part of the DILG. So the DILG is lead of a working group, and this working group that basically prepares our report for the Convention on Torture is composed of 22 agencies. May I just enumerate it, sir? Of course, the Department of Interior and Local Government, the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, the Philippine Public Safety College, NAPOLCOM, NBI, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, Commission on Human Rights, Bureau of Corrections, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the DSWD, Department of Justice, our Department of National Defense, the Bureau of Immigration, the Philippine Commission on Women, of course the DFA, Department of Health, the Council on the Welfare of Children, Presidential Human Rights Committee. Partner po natin dun is our, of course, the Office of the Executive Secretary, Paquito Ochoa is, basically he has delegated the work to the Deputy Executive Secretary Teofilo Pilando, as well as Undersecretary Severo Catura of the PHRC Secretariat. Number 19, the Philippine Judicial Academy, the Office of the Court Administrator, the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council, as well as the Philippine National Police. So essentially what happens is the Department of Foreign Affairs, working closely with the Department of Interior and Local Government, as well as the Presidential Human Rights Committee, convenes for the preparation of this report.
What's the bottom line in our November 2014 report? What did we tell the United Nations?
Yes, sir. Well, highlights po, sir, of our third periodic report was that we we enumerated the various laws that we were able to pass. Of course, specifically the anti-torture law, wherein, as stated po by Chief Superintendent Mr. Villacorte, we did set up human rights affairs offices. We had human rights desks. We had the anti-torture messages on security identification cards. Basically training on the basic principles on the use of force and firearms, public prohibition of the use of instruments of torture. For example, the medical personnel are not subjected to intimidation. So there basically, sir, there's a series of questions, list of issues prior to reporting that the UN submits, provides us, and then we give the appropriate response. And aside from of course, the anti-torture law, basically the information that we've submitted to the UN is we've also discussed the RA 10353, the Act defining and penalizing enforced or interference, signed in 2012. As mentioned by Attorney Hermie Angeles Natividad, our Administrative Order number 35, creating the Interagency Committee on Extralegal Killings, Enforced Disappearances, Torture, and Grave Human Rights Violations. And among other things po, women and children, basically we've outlined all of these initiatives, new programs, recent programs, since our previous report in 2009. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, and I've actually met po, Your Honor, with the group from Amnesty International last December 5, and they did give us some of their concerns, and basically we will be working, the DFA will be working closely with the Presidential Human Rights Committee, DOJ, as well as the DILG on our this year po kailangan po nating mag fast track ulit on our interagency meetings in terms of compliance po sa mga na-outline ng mga questions ng United Nations. And it was mentioned earlier that the UN Committee on Torture will also be visiting the Philippines this year, along with Italy and Guatemala.
This is another matter, no, that Director Banagodos. Can you also provide this committee with a list of our international commitments through treaties and covenants on the detention of prisoners, on the standards of standards to be observed in detaining prisoners, etc. So, kasi Justice Committee concerned din yung natin itong detention facilities natin eh. Are there conventions and treaties mandating standards to be observed in the detention of prisoners?
I'll have to check, sir, because
if the answer is yes, and next question, are we signatories? If the answer is yes, to which ones? And then, anong compliance natin dito?
Sige, sir. We'll provide po information.
May we get the inputs from Attorney Marahom Salik, the IBP, on the two torture resolutions? Ang number one, ang kay Senator Miriam Santiago, ang sinasabi niya is torture and human rights violations are a serious problem in the Philippines. Yung resolution ko po is specifically on the involvement of the PNP in torture. So as the practicing lawyer or IBP, how can we address the two concerns?
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, the one in charge here is the office of the legal office of the IBP, but I sub for our representatives. But this doesn't mean that I don't claim modest knowledge on the issue, since I had been a commissioner of human rights the first half of 1990, the second half of 1990s, and I have been a human rights activist. But even during my stint, Your Honor, torture committed by the PNP has been a furniture in our justice system, and despite the enactment of the anti-torture law, it's still there. and increasing. And I go for the findings of the Amnesty International. In fact, the violation is massive on the part of the military, but this is not recorded. So what is recorded usually is the police, because they are the people who are intimately associated with the civilian sectors of our society, and they are in urban areas where there is a media. And that is why the record of the CHR always features violations by the PNP and not by the military authorities.
Can victims of torture run to the IBP? Do you have a program to help them? Kasi according to the report, almost all victims come from poor or disadvantaged backgrounds, according to the Amnesty International report. So most likely, they cannot hire lawyers who will charge them fees. Diba? So is there a program from the IBP?
Yes, Your Honor. We have the Center for Legal Aid, and it has been doing its job, its traditional role of representing indigents. And those who
open sila sa torture cases? Kaya? Kasi baka naman indigent sa mga, sometimes yung away sila sa, ano ba yung mga cases of the indigent?
The indigents, Your Honor. Not only the indigents, but all who would be coming as indigent.
Ang senaryo ko, indigent, lapit siya sa IBP. Ay, torture yan. Teka, ayoko yan kasi police ang kalaban. Baka ganun eh.
Hindi po, sir. We have this Center for Legal Aid, and under the Center for Legal Aid are legal committee in every chapter, and we have 87 chapters. We have our own assigned lawyer in this committee in every chapter, and a clerk, and where there is complainant, they are entertained, Your Honor. But I don't know if there are torture cases which are filed with our chapters or with our central office, Your Honor.
What is important is you're open. The IBP as an institution is open to assisting
Yes, Your Honor.
Complainants in torture cases.
But I just wish to comment, Your Honor, about the disposition of our police officers to violence. I think the problem rests on the training system in our academy. What they call MISTA system, or what I personally call the FAG system. FAG system. Just like in the British schools, where as freshman cadet is an automaton of a sophomore cadet, and a sophomore cadet in turn is an automaton of junior cadet, and so on. I think this is an exercise of torture, and there is no basis for that. For all you know, a freshman is even better than a sophomore man who is a goat in their class. So I think there is a need to review this system. Because during schools, what can you expect if during schools they are already terrorists or people who are prone to violence, doing this to their own fellow cadets? So I recommend that this be revised if still existing, and I have this suspicion that it is still existing. I also go for the recommendation of the CHR, Your Honor, as well as the Amnesty International, about the inadequacy of seminars. I think this is my view of the nature of man. If character is innate in man, if he is disposed to violence, he will most likely be like that, even with seminars. My point is, we should enforce a strict recruitment policy. Even if somebody passes the board for police officer, that should not only be the qualification for him to become police officer. There should be an interview, a stringent interview, and it would be better if this kind of interview is conducted by a collegial body with representatives from institutions like the mental hospital. You see, I was reminded of that incident in Manila where these police officers simply killed tourists, took them hostages because his brother was being, arrested. There must be something with his mind. So I recommend the adoption of a collegial body of investigators, which will be manned by institutions like the mental hospital, the CHR.
If you have something concrete in mind, Panyero, can you put this in writing, give to the committee?
Yes,
a concrete proposal?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then
I will do it.
And then the committee secretary is directed to draft a letter to the PNPA asking if such a system you mentioned, yung FAG system nyo, or
FAG system, yes.
Did you get the essence of where the freshman is an automaton of this of the sophomore, etc. We will direct the question to the PNPA. Okay yun?
Thank you, Your Honor.
We will write to PNPA and direct the question to the PNPA. Amnesty International, law report on the armed forces on torture cases.
We didn't include the armed forces in the research on these cases. We only included the police and the other civilian agencies.
What aside from the PNP, any other agency involved in torture?
And it is included in the report, and in fact on one of the slides, the AFP, the BJMP, the LGUS, the PDEA, the NPA, and the CIDG. Small numbers in each case, very small numbers. It's just, and I think the figures from CHR show from 2013 of the 75, around 60 were PNP, so 15 from these other agencies.
But still, no NBI. Congratulations, Attorney Tobera. Wala talaga eh. Hinihimay na natin, wala pa rin talaga eh. But of the 55, of the 60 complainants that you interviewed, was any of them assisted by the IBP? Integrated by the Philippines?
We need to check that. No, none of them.
Panyero, so ganun siguro. I think the people should at least be informed or be made aware that the IBP is open to assisting in torture cases.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, I will ask the leadership to
so one of the reasons
issue a memorandum on this respect, and some of our chapters have their own radio programs, and they can announce the availability of the IBP for this kind of cases.
Yun siguro because one of the reasons, di ba? One of the reasons of the low reporting is unfamiliarity or lack of courage because of they cannot find a lawyer to help them. Mr. Servanto, please.
At the risk of delaying the hazing hearing, no? But I was just concerned why Amnesty International didn't touch on the AFP cases, because I was also a former human rights advocate during the time of martial law, no? And there were really a lot of cases of abuses by the AFP at the time. So how come we didn't touch on it now?
Amnesty, if you care to answer the question.
If we had looked into the AFP cases, it would have required a different legal framework, and given the limited resources we had for this research, we decided to focus as we did. That's not to say that such research would be very valuable, and we'd be happy to discuss that in the future.
That's their call. They put the resources on studying involvement of PNP in torture cases. So, okay, more or less, I think. Yes, sister. Ma'am Cordero.
Thank you, sir. I heard that trainings are provided, and I also heard that there are some reports, international and national, and yet these are happening. I think what I would like to suggest is we provide the appropriate trainings, but beyond the trainings, we have to develop the culture of human rights in the system, and we have to put it in the system such that the family can visit anytime. The relatives who are detained, who are in the prison, something like the unannounced visits, because beyond the trainings, if this system is provided and the culture is developed, then we might be going to the right direction. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
These are the unannounced visits by the government monitor. Tama po, is that correct, Director Bennett? When you mentioned unannounced visits in other countries, there's a government monitor.
That's for example, by monitors like the Commission on Human Rights, but
Precisely.
also other monitors that are properly authorized. In other countries, it has been effective in decreasing the use of torture.
Is that possible, Dr. Basas, for unannounced visits?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In fact, the unannounced visit has already been enshrined in the two laws. One is the Republic Act 9745, or the Anti-Torture Law, and the other one is the law on enforced disappearance. And we have been...
you have been doing it?
Yes, I've been doing that. And that's why there was an increase as reported by the Amnesty International, because their statistics also came from the CSR. There was an increase in the incidence of torture because of our preventive monitoring on torture, which is unannounced, on places of deprivation of
Actually, if the CHR lacks manpower, baka IBP can supplement the manpower of the CHR for these unannounced visits. Because what is the purpose of these unannounced visits? To interview, ocular inspection, to take a look, the personnel, and then you interview. Do you also interview?
We determine the conditions of the jails, and we determine the occurrence of torture inside places of deprivation.
What do you think, Attorney Marom Salik, IBP can?
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, we have a memorandum of agreement with the CHR covering this subject, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you confirm that, sir? Meron talaga? Yes, State Council Natividad.
Mr. Chair, actually, I would like to invite the attention of everybody under the IRR of the Anti-Torture Law. These are all stipulated, wherein not only the NGOs but also civil society could coordinate with the CHR for the unhampered, unannounced visitorial visit, as long as they are accredited by the CHR at any time 24/7. Also, for the services of other IBP or other organizations, they are also provided under the IRR that even, for example, the victim is not proper litigant, the IBP is mandated to provide assistance right there and then. They cannot refuse that. Only after that the case is filed in court that they should provide with their own personal counsel. Now, as to the check-up or medical requirements, again, it is provided in the IRR that at every time or at any time the accused or the detained person is removed from detention facilities, they have to be provided with medical check-up or requirement. And if for example, the PNP cannot afford that, or they don't have the facility for that, again, under the comprehensive rehabilitation program, all hospitals, local hospitals, even private hospitals, they are required to provide medical assistance or provide medical, what do you call this? Medical examination to the detainees.
Can a detainee request that he be medically examined?
Yes, that is.
Okay, but is there a time frame for the police to comply?
That is an absolute right of the detainee.
Did we put in the IRR deadline? Ilang days po? Or hours?
automatic, right there and then, as soon as possible.
But because if the core narration is accurate, then 8 days. So maybe we can take a look at that specific incident. 8 days to siya. 8 days later siya in-examine.
Yes, but that will be, if that will be the case, that would constitute a remiss on the part of the, because it is already provided in the IRR. It is already there's even no period, right there and then they should be provided with medical examination.
What if 20 inmates simultaneously request kunyari? What will happen?
Even if they don't have the facility, in fact, even if the PNP will have a facility, if the detainee will say no, I don't want this facility to check up me, I wanted another institution, then it is his right. I said it is an absolute right of the detainee to be medically checked by another institution, and that institution that should give free medical examination. So there should, even if it is a psychological treatment or whatever kind of.
So ang aware dapat dyan sa obligation na yan would be the BJMP, the custodians of detention prisoners, tama?
Exactly.
And the victims, of course, the victims, plus of course, pero ito kasi
even the PNP.
Even the PNP, you know.
Yes.
Are we aware of that absolute right of the detainees, Chief Superintendent? Are we aware of that?
I think it is in our POP or our operations procedure manual, sir.
Even ang NBI also detains PIP sila din. Although sabi nila built-in na sa kanila, no? Built-in na sa inyo, according to Attorney Tubera. Built-in na sa kanila. Okay, so, no, Director Bennett, the next, you can improve your presentation by mentioning that in the Philippines, we also have unannounced visits. So that's, I think, what they're trying to, that's a reaction to your report, that it's not being done here, it's being done also here in the Philippines. Yes, sir, Director.
Yeah, thank you very much for that suggestion, and it's very good to know that there are unannounced visits. But just on the previous discussion about the medical examinations, we do agree that in law and in principle in the Anti-Torture Act there is the right, but in practice we're informed that 5 years after the Anti-Torture Act was passed, the DOH is still finalizing its rules and regulations on how it should implement its duties to undertake medical examinations. So still the practice lags behind the policy.
I think the law does not give also a time limit, so is that maybe we can agree that's a room for improvement? They put a time limit. Did you also take a look at our penalties? Are you not recommending a change in the penalties in the anti-torture law?
No, we're not making any recommendations.
So
the penalties we consider are adequate.
Adequate, okay. Okay, yes, State Counsel.
With respect, I just wanted to clarify that for the comprehensive rehabilitation program, it is already signed both by the DSWD and by the Department of Health. And in fact, the Department of Health and the DSWD, actually we're just collaborating with them together with CHR. They were the one who crafted that program.
Okay, anyway, this committee will get to the bottom of this. Clear ito. Whether or not the DOH, DSWD, DOH circular ba yan? Anong tawag dyan?
Program. It is provided
Comprehensive Rehabilitation Program.
In the RA 9745 and part of the IRR. So pinagbukod namin IRR plus yung
yes, and then saan yung absolute right on medical check-up?
Both in the IRR and in the comprehensive rehabilitation.
Oh nga, so both both effective na yan, ano? So okay, so we'll take a look at that. Okay, we will write to the DOH and to the DSWD to find out the real status of this. We'll get to the bottom of this. Yes, sir.
I just want to comment on just an information for the Amnesty International about their 3 recommendations. We have acted, I'm happy to inform you that I've already partially acted on the 2. The one is the convening of the Oversight Committee on Torture, and I've already convened the committee last year, and then we are working for the second meeting this year. And then the other one is the establishment of the National Preventive Mechanism under the OPCAD, and we have already done the preliminaries. We have already consulted the stakeholders, and in fact, the staff of Senator Pimentel has been actively joining in the consultations of the stakeholders, especially persons deprived of liberty. Then we are doing that, and we are now on the state of just determining the forms of the NPM. Either it would be an independent body or an independent, or a body attached to the CHR and so forth and so on, for a legislation. So we are already acting on the two. And on the three, I think it's about the PNP. Yeah, okay. Thank you po.
Thank you, Dr. Basas. But please remind Karen and your point persons that we did not meet our timetable for that one. So ayusin po natin. Chief Superintendent, yung ano na lang, yung inputs from the PNP on the programs under acting PNP Chief. And please tell him that you told this committee that he is a disciplinarian. Okay? So we expect him to be a disciplinarian. Then ano na lang yung plans niya on how to, specifically to address torture. Iba-ibang topics ng marami kayong topics but specifically to address torture, to limit, minimize, or absolutely insulate the PNP from involvement in torture. Ano po yung plano? What are the plans?
And just for the record, we appreciate, sir, yung mga inputs na binibigay kanina. And I think the PNP has gained stride, sir, dito sa aming improvement and system against torture and sir. And we will continue improving yung ating program, sir. Ang program, sir, ng PNP is human rights-based policing. I will try to improve our system more.
Anyway, we will tackle this again in another hearing. And we will listen to the inputs of the PNP. Okay. Tsaka go over the report. If you want to dispute some of their findings, tell us. Ano naman yung disputable sa findings po nila. Okay.
Do that, sir.
Okay, so we leave this topic now on torture and go to the hazing. And for those of you who are not involved in hazing, you're free to go. Thank you for your attendance. Let's have a 3-minute break, toilet break. Thank you. Are we ready to resume? Okay, yes, session resumed. Hazing. Proposed Senate Resolution 759 mentions specifically the incident involving the La Salle College of St. Benilde student Gilio Cesar Servando. So we have here Mr. Servando, Aurelio Servando, the father. Can you tell us, please, sir, what happened?
Well, my son, who was a culinary student, was convinced to join Tau Gamma Phi, and he underwent a initiation proceedings, and he died due to serious traumatic injuries on the lower torso. Sa paa, no? 20 individuals were charged in the case with the help of the NBI, and about 14 were eventually indicted by the NBI, by the DOJ. I expect the warrants of arrest to come out maybe first week of February, because we had to ask for the information to be amended, because the DOJ panel had included the term "with intent to kill" on the information, which my lawyers believe could lead to the eventual dropping of the case. After some persuasion, we were able to convince the DOJ to drop the term "intent to kill," Your Honor.
What date did this happen, sir?
June 28, 2014, Your Honor.
2014, June 28, and informations would soon be out?
Actually, it has been out, but we asked that it be amended.
Okay. Warrants, wala pa?
Wala pa, sir.
So after. Okay, so the question now is, that was 759, no? Resolution number 759. And
yes.
We have proposed Senate Resolution 760 by Bam Aquino. So most likely, same same time frame itong dalawa. So most likely was also
yes,
spurred to act by the incident involving your son.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they want to know how come, in spite of our anti-hazing law, this incident still happened.
May I answer that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Actually, from my talk with the parents of the respondents, and even with some respondents, most of them did not know that there was an existing anti-hazing law. I myself didn't know that. And I also talked to the lawyer alumni of Tau Gamma Phi, who are now approaching me and asking if it is possible na ma-reglo. And they have admitted to me that even if they are already lawyers, they don't know about the existence of the law. I don't know, Chairman, was this ever discussed during law school?
No,
because it seems
there will be no specific definitely sa law school ko wala, di ba? Kasi 1990 po ako so wala pang anti-hazing law, and definitely kahit ngayon siguro there will be no subject matter na on hazing lang. So maybe sa criminal law, no, baka daanan na ito sa criminal law 2. Criminal law 2 siguro sa specific crimes.
The reason why I brought this up, sir, is because I think the law could stand some improvement, no? It could be given more teeth. But while we're waiting for the new law to come out, maybe your committee could help in the propagation or the spreading out of information about this law, no? Because clearly, kukunti po ang nakakaalam tungkol sa anti-hazing law, no? And there's one other aspect, one other thing that I'd like to suggest, sir, no? If more of the prominent people like you could come out openly against hazing, I think we would be able to convince those who are younger, who are still presently in fraternities, to finally put a stop to hazing. There is one particular senator, sir, that I'd like to hear voice out his voice about hazing, because he is also a member of Tau Gamma Phi. He is none other than Senator Ralph Recto. Unfortunately, sir, I've been trying to get an answer from him, but he has so far not given his opinion on the hazing cases involving Tau Gamma Phi. Mind you, sir, Tau Gamma Phi is the biggest fraternity in the Philippines. And they have also had the most number of deaths. There have been at least 11 or 12 that I know of. And there are cases that were not even reported. So, napakarami ng pinatay itong Tau Gamma Phi ng fraternity. I was looking at the list of invitees, and I was hoping that there would be a representative of Tau Gamma Phi here, no? But wala ata, no? So, sir, as I said, if more of prominent people like you would come out and say openly, and maybe in a television ad, that we are former members of a fraternity, we went through the hazing procedure before, but now that we are in position, now that we realize that it is not necessary, now that we have children of our own and we don't want them to undergo hazing also because they don't want them to die, maybe these young children will listen and finally move to abolish hazing. Yun sana ang hinihingi ko sa committee nyo, sir, no? And not only to you but to all fraternity members around, especially the lawyers. Kayo po ang tinitingala ng mga members na ito. And if you say so, it will go a long way towards convincing them na walain na natin ang hazing. That way, we don't have to wait for the new law. In the meantime, maybe we can make some improvements and minimize the risk of hazing.
The gaps or the loopholes or the weaknesses that you have observed in the existing law?
Well, actually, in the existing law, sir, as long as a death occurs, is very solid. No problem. Kaya lang, yun lang, pag walang mamatay, may lusot, maraming lusot. Pag may mamatay, sad to say, mas malakas ang kaso kasi reclusio perpetua and non-bailable na. So medyo kinakabahan na yung mga salarin dyan. Pero pag walang namatay, maraming malulusot kasi ang reckless, mababang mga parusa lang, and of course it's bailable. Pag bailable, they can always use all kinds of legal remedies to avoid the conviction. Pag may mamatay lang or ma-mutilate, ma-rape or ma-sodomize, tsaka lang magkakaproblema mga fraternity. Kaya siguro sa isipan ng mga fraternity, the risk of there being a death is a small percentage, and it's a risk that they are willing to take. Parang they're playing with the Russian roulette, sir, eh. No? They feel, chances are hindi na mamatay to. Anyway, sasabihin nila, thousands and thousands are being initiated every year, but we only get about 1 or 2 deaths every year. So that's a risk that they are willing to take. Pero ang kawawa, kung ikaw ang mamatayan, talagang napakasakit mo mawala ng anak. No? Kaya nga sabi ko, sana kung ang may justice lang na ang next na mag-victim magiging anak ng isang politiko, na isang frat member, maybe we can get these politicians to do something about it. But in the meantime, because it's something that happened to their own children, parang they can just turn the blind eye on it.
Thank you, Mr. Servando. We have Ched here, Mr. Alberto. How about the concern of Mr. Servando that the lack of dissemination? What has Ched been disseminating information about this anti-hazing law?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. With regards to Ched, actually, we are just, honestly, we have no concrete guidelines and procedures on the anti-hazing, but we are only following the 1995 Ched Order number 4 of Series 1995. And also the regarding hazing and fraternities, we are asking all the schools before to submit to us if they are recognizing the fraternities and sororities in their campus. But the report of the school, they are not recognizing fraternities. So whenever there is or something happened like that, and they only we will just ask what happened to the incident or And the school give us the report. For example, what happened to the hazing in the Saint Benilde? We just asked them. We just we write the school, and they answered the letter, but they always saying us that they are not recognizing the fraternity. Most of the school, all of the school.
So the requirements for the school of officials to be present in these initiation rites would only come in if it is a school recognized organization. Ganun ba yun? So if it's a frat, no matter how they call it, but it's not registered, accredited, or recognized by the school, then the responsibilities about being present will not
Yes.
apply. Is that the reasoning given to you?
Yes, sir. Because most of these schools, sir, whenever we ask them what fraternities or the recognized fraternities, sinasabi nila wala silang nire-recognize ng fraternities and sororities inside the campus.
As a rule yan na all of the colleges, universities under your jurisdiction, if you ask them, yan ang sagot nila.
Yeah.
There are no fraternities or sororities recognized by our university, our college.
And they only giving us the organization that academically recognized.
For example, ano yun?
Mga
science club, mga ganyan.
Organization inside the campus.
Oh, so can we get a copy of the reports given to you?
Actually, I have, sir, here the letter of Saint Benilde about CHED, yun sa condemns recent death of hazing of Benilde. Meron po kaming letter ni chairperson, press statement niya. Can I read this to you, sir?
Okay, we'll make it part of the records you submit to us. No, but I'm more interested in your effort to document the fraternities and the sororities recognized by the entities under your jurisdiction. So you wrote to them, and then they answered you almost uniformly that there are no fraternities, sororities.
Actually, sir, we are giving them the forms, all the fraternities and sororities that recognize. They only just put the student council, yung mga organization nila. Pero about the sororities, sabihin nila no report, no recognized fraternities.
No recognized, kaya na.
Okay, nasa form po na pagpapadala kami sa mga.
Can you give us a sample of your form and then a sample of the of an answer so we can take a look?
Okay pa.
Maybe this is also one of the gaps in the law. Ma'am Lasatin, you're with LaSalle?
Yes.
Vice Chancellor for LaSallian Mission and Student Life.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. In fact, Guillo was our student, Guillo Servando.
Guillo.
Servando.
It's Julio.
Julio Servando.
Julio, but according to Mr. Servando, the frat that he applied to,
yes,
Tau Gamma Phi, is the biggest in the Philippines.
Yes, yes.
And it's present in LaSalle.
Yes.
But it is not
we don't recognize fraternities or organizations that don't share our values, our mission, and our vision. And the ways of some of the fraternities definitely are not are not the same as those shared by our school, Benilde. So there are existing organizations such as Tau Gamma that students get involved with, they choose to get involved with. Unfortunately, this incident happened outside of our campus.
Yeah, the hazing incident which led to the death of Julio happened outside the LaSalle campus or complex, but the recruitment happened inside.
It's possible. That's possible. Yeah. It also that's a possibility, Your Honor.
So in effect, the school, the college or the university is the recruiting ground. Yeah. So how can we prevent such an activity?
Well, it's possible that it's inside. It's also possible that it's outside of the school.
Let's talk about the possibility that it's inside.
Yeah.
But if it's outside, wala na talaga tayo magawa. But inside, how can we prevent it?
I can just share with you what we have, what our practices. No, we have when the students enter our college, there is a contract also that they sign. It's a non-membership contract of any organization or fraternity that's not recognized by the school. They also attend a 3-unit course It's a subject. Yes.
What would be the consequence if they violate the contract? Nakasulat din doon.
As stipulated in the handbook. We have a handbook that stipulates that if you're found, the extreme penalty would be expulsion. Okay. So nakasulat rin ho doon, and the students are made aware. Now, we have a 3-unit course that students take that include a module on learning from student organizations. There are several student organizations in schools. In our school, in fact, we have like 26 existing student organizations that all of them can join and can also enhance their other skills, no, and their develop other competencies. We have seminars. We do seminars that are against any type of violence or abuse. So the culture inside school to make it safe and secure is present. But I suppose, given that, there are incidents that
those seminars are optional.
There are optional and there are also required.
Required. Okay.
After this incident, we've intensified our campaigns, really, on the awareness of violence inside school, bullying, and all similar cases and incidents.
Have there been incidents of frat wars or frat rumbles inside your complex, inside the university compound?
Not that we're aware of, but they are frat related. There are allegations that they were frat related.
And it happened inside the school premises.
Yes.
So that should have made you aware that there are frats existing in the school.
Yes, that there are groups existing inside the school that are not recognized.
Not recognized.
Yes. So we have discipline officers, we have security officers also who do surveillance all over the campus.
Have you expelled students because of a frat or related incident or a non-recognized entity related incident? Hence a violation of the contract?
None that I'm aware of. We have been suspending students who have gotten into physical, brawls, but not particularly frat-related. This will be the first case.
So the suspension is because of the
physical brawls,
the brawls, the physical violence.
Yes.
But not a violation of the signed contract.
No, not yet. We don't have any case yet of that.
So does that mean that you are parang in denial, state of denial?
No, I don't think so, sir. We're definitely not in a state of denial, especially after this case. It really is it has become an impetus for us to become aware of these existing organizations already in school.
Can Ched, Mr. Alberto, can Ched not look at the LaSalle reaction and make this a uniform, a standard for universities to follow?
Actually, sir, if we will look for before the CHED Memorandum Order of 1995, andun po yung andun yung mga tungkol sa anti-hazing na may involve inside the school, and yung mga kanilang parang parusa or what, meron po. Kaya lang, it's very 1995.
Gito. Yung contract na binanggit ni Ma'am Lasatin I don't know, pero IDP, pag-aralan nyo yung constitutionality nun, kung may constitutional angle ba. How many universities require that? That upon admission, the freshman, ano ba yun, ma'am? Every year, all students.
All incoming students.
At the start of the school year, all students are required to sign an undertaking, a contract, or an agreement that once they're found by the school to have joined a non-accredited school organization involved in or practicing violence, they can be expelled. Would that be a good practice?
I think so, sir. But kasi po every school meron sila kasing kanya-kanyang parang guidelines and a manual. Hindi po namin matiyak kung yung like halimbawa from the other school, Benilde and the other school may same, pero I think meron naman po silang mga manuals for that kind of situation. May mga guidelines sila. Kaya lang hindi eksakto ganun kung ano po yung
you're only assuming and you're hoping na meron sila. But ito from testimony of Ms. Lasatin, Benilde has such a policy.
For all incoming.
For all incoming. Because yung returning have already signed
Yes,
before.
so
Okay,
then
yun.
we
So,
keep that.
for all incoming or new students. Okay. So, ang tanong ko nga, Mr. Alberto, which I hope you will discuss with Ched, is such a practice by Benilde a good one so that you can encourage other schools to adopt it?
Yes.
Yung tanong ko.
I think
Kasi andyan na yung law. Ang ano natin is yung ano bang hinuhope natin ma-achieve na they do not join these non-accredited organizations observing violence and hazing.
Yes.
Yun yung, that's what, so that our law now, the anti-hazing law, can be applied because you can only join organizations with initiation rights which are properly accredited in the school or university. Yun yung hino-hope natin doon.
I think, sir, pwede naman po na parang sabihin natin na standardized na meron sila. Although we have in our CMO na meron tayong about yung sa kanilang acceptance, pero hindi siya ganun lahat para pareho nga po eh. May kanya-kanya silang style.
What CMO? Ano yun?
CMO 20.
What CMO?
CHED Memorandum Order.
CHED Memorandum Order.
About
Okay.
the student affairs.
Can you give us a copy of that?
services.
CHED Memorandum Order.
Isesend na po, sir.
Yeah.
Isesend po sa inyo.
Yes,
Pasend na lang
the
po.
committee.
Apo.
IBP, can you help us na lang study if that practice by Benilde is adopted nationwide through a CHED circular? Will that be questionable under the Constitution?
Yes, Your Honor, we will submit this study.
Pag-aralin natin.
Opo, pag-aralan natin. Although I have this in mind, na kung gusto natin na mawala na yung hazing, sir, bakit hindi na lang i-penalize yung hazing itself as a special law? Hindi physical injury, and we up the penalty.
As I understand the law, ito na yun eh. Parang yung torture kanina, since 2009, torture na.
Yeah.
Ito ngayon, hazing na.
Hazing as a special crime.
Ngayon, pati nga school authorities to be penalized, kahit na, pero the point is, yung provision na yun, to involve the school authorities so that they will also be involved in the monitoring will not kick in because the frats exercising hazing are not accredited. They do not register.
Bakit na lang if found that they exercise hazing, iban na lang sa school? If there is one example of hazing, di iban na lang sila formally in that school.
Actually, Ms. Lasatin, you can say that Tau Gamma is banned in Salle. Tama ba? In Benilde. Hindi nga sila nagpapakredit eh. So, ang approach na natin is yung supply muna, supply of the applicants. Bawas-bawasan natin yung supply ng applicants by making them sign this the school will expel them if they really after the education to be given by the school, matatakot din sila, the deterrent effect. No? So, pero if this policy has not yet been questioned and if we want CHED to apply it, nationwide dissemination, it might be its constitutionality might be challenged. That's why I'm asking IBP to help study, anticipate the question, and let's study it.
We will do that, Your Honor. Pero ang nakita kong problema dito is the prosecution aspect. Kasi pag naariglo na, wala nang mga mag-affidavits.
Tama.
But the direct physical evidence here is the person himself who is a victim. And pwede naman bigyan ng authorities yung schools to go ahead with the investigation with this sole direct physical evidence and then patawan ng penalty yung all those who were involved. Basta lang makita yung physical evidence.
Yung involved ba sa
administrative aspect?
Benilde students?
All of them, sir.
All of them. So what happened to them, ma'am?
We started the investigation last July, and we completed it finished last December. We're at the process right now of writing all the decisions and the recommendations of the discipline board. I cannot preempt.
Okay lang, I understand. No. And if you were to expel them, this would be the first cases of the application of that contract.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, ganun na mangyayari. Mr. Servando?
Yeah, actually, I was just going to add that I believe that almost all religious schools in the Philippines have that waiver. Because they have taken that route of having students take that make that waiver so that ma-discourage ang pagsali sa mga fraternity. But obviously it has not been enough, no? In the case of LaSalle, my son is the first hazing death as far as the entire LaSalle system is concerned. So I hope and I know that LaSalle is already learning from the experience. In fact, they'll come up with sterner measures when it comes to fraternities, and I expect that their heads will really roll as far as Tau Gamma is concerned. I hope Miss Lasatin, heads will roll. Huh?
For those, perhaps.
Yeah, for those who were involved.
Yes.
Yes, as a question.
Good afternoon, Ms. Lazatin. I'm just curious, and perhaps Ched might also have some inputs here. Oftentimes when we talk about hazing, our focus are usually the students and the student organizations. But I'm just wondering if, for instance, in LaSalle or College of St. Benilde, if you also do a similar background check on faculty and school administrators, because it is no surprise, actually, that some faculty members or school administrators are themselves alumni of certain organizations. In law school themselves, actually, some of the faculty members actively recruit students to these organizations. So perhaps we should also try to do a background check also on faculty members. I don't know if that is already something in place.
Thank you, Attorney Diaz. It's already in place in Benilde. And it's also stipulated in our personnel manual. If we find them involved, then there are certain penalties, and serious ones also. Thank you.
Okay. That's
Excuse
good
me.
to know.
I think the question of Attorney Diaz is, are the faculty members required to divulge fraternity affiliations? Is that right?
That is also along that line also,
Yeah.
because
Are they
you
required?
want to really screen also your faculty members.
Help, Mr. Servando?
I believe so. In fact, I was going to suggest, sir, that if you have a chance to revisit the Salle law, if you could also include fraternity by affiliation in the Salle law, no? Because we all know that these fraternities have a very wide-reaching contact, no, with the government officials, and sometimes these affiliations could alter the kind of decisions or help that our government officials can give, no? So kung nasa Salle law, at least we will know later on kung is he using the position as ano.
Put it under the column of liability. Kasi statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth yun eh.
Yeah.
So in the column of liability, doon nilagay yung frat at saka sorority. Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor and Attorney Diaz, no, I wanted to also add, in our personnel manual, membership to a fraternity or a sorority is not a violation. Okay? So you can declare, however, if you are involved in any form or activity that is you're into hazing or any type of abuse, then it becomes a violation. Okay?
But that frat or sorority must be registered with your school.
Not necessarily, sir.
Not
Because
necessarily.
we also have lawyers who are members of fraternities who teach in our schools. So so you can declare like
You can declare,
a type of an organization
okay.
that you belong to, but membership to that organization is not a violation.
So what is the essence of that contract that they signed?
This
That they
is
should
the personnel, the faculty,
the personnel, the faculty.
the teachers.
But the students.
The students, no. That contract stands that when you are, and we can give you a copy
Yes,
of it.
okay, please.
It's a non-membership contract to any fraternity or organization that it goes against our vision, mission, and values for the students.
That goes against your...
Yeah, that we do not share. I can give you a copy.
Yes. State Council, your inputs, please.
Mr. Chair, it could be an indirect violation of the right to join associations under Section 8, Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution.
I'm enlisting the help of the IBP to study this, because we want CHED. If CHED should agree that this is a model undertaking for students, new and incoming students to sign, we should study the constitutional challenge. Mr. Alberto?
The problem, sir, with regards to fraternities, although the school are not, all the higher education institutions are not recognizing fraternities and sororities in their campus, sometimes the recruitment happened outside. And then if ever, example, a student from that school, and that school is not recognizing fraternity, the recruitment happened outside. And then, kapag siyempre hindi naman nila i-declare na sila ay nag-join, kahit paano sabihin ng mga, mapipirma rin ng mga yan na alam nila yan. So pag nangyari, again, nagkaroon ng hazing, at halimbawa po, nangyari outside din. And then, yung sa labas, ibang school naman ang involved. So nagkakaroon, yun po yung nagiging problem natin kahit sabihin po natin na may pinirmahan sila. Then hindi naman nila aaminin talaga kahit paano gawin natin. And also the school, sabihin nila, hindi naman namin nare-recognize ang fraternities. Yun po kasi ang nagiging problem. Kahit pag nagmo-monitor kami, tanungin namin, may nangyari ba po na fraternity hazing dito? Wala. Pero pagka sinabi sa labas ng bata, may nangyari po dyan hazing nabalitaan namin. Hindi naman talaga sasabihin ng school. So, kahit paano pong sabihin natin sa kanila na submit nyo sa amin, hindi sila talaga magbibigay. Kasi, syempre po, school sabihin nila, we are not recognizing fraternities.
So, actually, nakita natin problema is number one. Yung deterrent effect of the criminal law, which is the anti-hazing law, hindi natin po, we are not maximizing the deterrent effect because people do not know the existence of the law. So, pagtutulungan tayo ron. Maybe CHED, the schools, IBP as my role. And then sabi mo nga kung pwede mag-add sa mga personalities, etc. That's the deterrent effect of the new law, relatively new law. Kailangan ma-maximize yun. And then with this contract or undertaking, the deterrent effect naman of this contract, na oops, when you read before you sign, when I read this, oops, this is my commitment undertaking to my school, then I can be expelled. So may deterrent effect, hopefully yun. Dalawa. Okay, so we will take a look at the effect of this. You only did this after the Servando incident?
No, Your Honor, it's been existing for a long time.
Okay, so but it did not deter Julio.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Ano? Yun na nga, ma'am, baka nga walang na-expel So, yung deterrent effect na actually, ito nga, ang deterrent effect of the law would be the filing of the cases, of course, DOJ, and then conviction by the courts. The deterrent effect of your undertaking would be from the students seeing that some fellow students are being expelled or punished. Sana ganun. Sana po. Kung talaga naman ganun ang kaso, why not, diba? Kasi what else can we do? Somebody has described this as crime involving willing victims. Sabing ganun What else can we do? Chief Superintendent, what else can we do? NBI, what else can we do? Although yung law, something's wrong with the law. Actually, sa title pa lang, an act regulating hazing. Dapat an act prohibiting hazing. Regulating initiation. Ganun siguro. Yes, State Council Ragsa.
During one of the TWG hearings at the House of Representatives, one of the speakers proposed the creation of an interagency committee under the LGU that will monitor fraternity sororities that operate outside the school premises. So that's one of the suggestions given, sir.
Exclusively outside?
According to the PNP during that hearing, sir, most of these organizations operate actually outside the school because they know that they cannot be sanctioned inside the school.
But ang members nila, mostly students?
Yes.
Okay. So ang frats ngayon, ang frats ngayon would be composed of students from different schools? Ganun na nangyayari ngayon? What is the purpose of that?
Excuse me, Your Honor. Actually, they have chapters in different schools. But usually, if the chapter is based in a particular school, all the members are from that school. But they fraternize with other chapters from other schools.
Pwede ngayon, ano? They operate outside. So what else can we do? Ano ba bang ideas natin? There is the DOJ, there is an interagency task force on hazing per Memorandum Circular 68. Are you aware of this? And ano na nangyari rito?
Sir, actually, I haven't heard from that. There was, yes, I think it was issued by the Executive Secretary, but
I have a copy before me. The chair is the Secretary of the Department of Justice.
Yes, sir. I'm not sure if it has already formally convened, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me.
August 2014. Yes,
Mr. Chair. I am aware of that Memorandum Circular number 68, and we convened once the Department of Justice, chaired by our Honorable Secretary. It was attended by some law enforcement agencies, and I believe a representative from CHED was present. We were informed then that they will call another meeting, but no follow-up meeting was ever conducted. From our end, Your Honor, I being the team leader of the Servando hazing case, which we concluded in just a matter of 7 days, of course with the participation of the MPD and the Makati Police District. We have here recommendations. One is the psychological trauma, because the existing anti-hazing law penalized only physical injuries or death for that matter. But more than that, when a person is placed under humiliating or embarrassing situation during initiation rites, this is not being sanctioned by the law. We therefore recommend that a penalty should be provided by the law via an amendment to this effect. Insofar as the participation of the schools and universities are concerned, to my mind, it's so important, and this should be embodied in orientations, especially this is being conducted first week before the start of classes. That was our experience before. To keep this student abreast of the repercussions, the consequences, the sad effect of joining fraternities. More than the contract that I've been hearing a while ago. And the 5 pillars of judicial system, where we are one of those, we've been doing our part, but sad to say that when it reached the preliminary stage or during the court trial, bumabagsak ang kaso for whatever reason. One, Marcos Reglos case, there was already probable cause, a warrant of arrest were issued against the suspects, but a legal battle ensued. Determination of probable cause was filed, motion, the warrants were quashed. Nothing happened. The Reglos case, the law enforcement agency did its part. The prosecutors did their part also. But during the trial proper, the family opted to settle the case. Kasi sabi nila, napaka haba. At least meron na kaming pagsisimulan na konting amount. That was the stand of the family. In this case, sa case ni Mr. Servando, alam naman po niya kung gaano ako kadedicate nung nag-investigate dito. Hindi ako umuwi ng 2 weeks, pati yung mga agents ko. And nagpapasalamat ako na nandiyan pa rin siya. A resolution was received by our office last December. we are not that happy, Your Honor. Because of the 20 personalities that were charged by our agency, 6 of them were spared. Only 14 was recommended for prosecution. And naniniwala rin po ako sa kanya na dapat yung intent to kill should be dropped from the information. I also want to hear from Mr. Servando if ever they filed a motion for reconsideration to that resolution in order to check whether or not the dropping of the 6 individuals are correct. Because to my mind, the phrase mere presence needs no further interpretation. With all due respect to the DOJ prosecutors, the panel of prosecutors, and to the approving authorities, they went as far as looking into the legislative intent, such that the phrase mere presence should be correlated to one section of that law na kailangang mag-inflict din daw sila ng harm or injury. Naniwala din ako sa kanila because the spirit of the law is there. It's with the record of the Congress. Kung yun po ang interpretasyon, wala na pong pagkakaiba yung anti-hazing law sa other common crimes under the revised penal code. And why should they still use that mere presence is considered prima facie presumption of one's participation in the commission of the crime. And the only defense that they can adduce is if they did something to prevent further commission of inflicting some injuries. Yun lang po ang nakikita ko eh. Pero sa kanila, dapat daw yung mga babae na nandoon na pumalo din to be charged or to be penalized. Pero may mga statements to the effect na while the initiation rites was going on, itong mga babae nagpapalakpakan pa eh. So there was something moral support from their end. May mga statement po na gano'n. I'm not happy, but of course, if that is the verdict of the Department of Justice, I submit myself. But these are the things that we should look into. Your Honor, please. Thank you.
Thank you for the inputs, Attorney Tabera. Mr. Servando, you care to comment? So
yes.
20 involved, 6
were acquitted.
Di ma-acquitted yun, not charged.
Not charged, yeah.
But 14 charged, and then with the questionable phraseology, yung phrase na, di ba doon sa 14 with intent to kill, nakasulat doon?
Yes.
That's why, okay.
Actually, first I'd like to second the motion of Attorney Tabera that they really went out of their way to prosecute the case. I'm very thankful to the NBI for their actions. Kahit linggo nagtatrabaho sila eh. Ngayon lang ako nakakita ng gobyerno na linggo nagtatrabaho. Government agency, I mean. So, out of the 6 na na-drop, hinabol namin yung 2. We're still waiting for the resolution, Attorney Tabera, or the decision of the AJ on our appeal on the 2 other individuals. Yung 4, pinabayaan na namin because yung isa was not really there, but had a part during the testing or the pled period. Ang isa was only there for 30 minutes. Yung isang babae, medyo nahawa na ako, so pinabayaan ko lang. Pero yung 2, hinahabol pa namin. So, as far as yung mga cases previously na nareglo, siguro tignan din natin na ang legal system natin talaga ay napaka-bulok po, no? Pasensya na sa mga abogado, pero ang legal system natin talaga napaka-bulok. Ito lang nangyari about this intent to kill phrase. is almost enough to drive you crazy. Because I ask a lot of people if that intent to kill phrase is necessary, and almost all were unanimous in saying na hindi necessary. Yet you have a panel that insists on including that. I had to appeal to the panel. Sabi ko, losing my son was very painful for me. And I don't think I can take it kung matatalo pa ako based on a technicality. It's a good thing after much persuasion I was able to convince them to remove that phrase, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Salvando. No, actually we are really reviewing the entire justice system in our country. Panyero, even yung preliminary investigation, there is a proposal to replace that with criminal investigation, PI to CI, but lagyan natin ng mga timetable, time limits, time periods, tapos the prosecutor should not feel like they're judges, that they're now acquitting respondents. Hindi pa nga akusado, acquitted na. Well, anyway, Judge Paras is here. Judge, do you have data on hazing cases, Judge?
Again, wala kaming data sa Supreme Court. But, Chairman, what I can suggest is that we can include it dun sa aming monthly report in an item para for judges to disclose if they know of hazing cases in their area of jurisdiction, and ilista nila dun sa monthly report of cases. I would like to make a comment, Your Honor, dun sa mere presence. Ang take ko dyan, pag alam ng organization or ng frat that hazing really takes place dyan sa fraternity na yan, tingin ko yung mere presence is already para sa akin prima facie. Kasi if they know, alam nila dapat wag na silang pumunta kung ayaw nila ma-involve. On the other hand, kung hindi nila alam, once na makita nila na meron na talagang sakitan na nagaganap, at the first earliest instance, they should mag-stop sila. Otherwise, pag nag-continue, parang tinotolerate nila yung pagpapatuloy ng hazing. And personally, Your Honor, I also teach at law schools. Nalulungkot ako kasi parang nagiging come-on. Yung pag naging member kayo ng frat na to, papasa kayo ng bar. Madali kayo makakapasa sa exam. Nagagalit ako kasi nakakalimutan na ang purpose, kaya ka papasa ng bar kasi nag-aaral ka ng mabuti. And not because you're a member of a fraternity. They keep on promising, magbibigyan ka ng notes, makakapasok ka madali sa mga law firms, pag naging lawyer ka, ang dami pang entice at saka sobrang network. Okay, no? Pero kailangan ma-emphasize doon that kaya ka papasa ng bar kasi nagsariling sikap ka, nag-aaral ka ng mabuti. And not because you joined a certain fraternity. Kaya ako, kung sinasabi ni Mr. Salvado mag-advocate, unahin mo na ako as a judge, una na ako mag-advocate, natigilan na talaga yung hazing. I'm sorry to equate fraternity with hazing. Kasi pag may frat, talagang may hazing. Yun na yun eh. Parang wala akong nakitang fraternity na walang hazing. So sana, yung mere presence na yun, baka kailangan ma-amend. Tapos, para mas matakot maging member ng fraternity. Yun ang para sa akin. Thank you.
Well, the law says, di ba, Attorney Tovera, the presence of any person during the hazing is prima facie evidence of participation therein, as principal, unless he prevented the commission of the acts punishable herein. So,
Your Honor, but the findings of the DOJ panel...
But they must also have inflicted.
Yes, Your Honor. And their reasoning was banked on the records of the Congress. That the legislative intent...
but if the intent was not... No, records would be expression of opinion. Maybe not yet. Anyway, nangyari na yun. But I think Mr. Sambando is disappointed that this is not a person, but a panel. Which wrote the information, agreeing that mere presence means also inflicting, and then adding that there should be an intent to kill. Tama ba?
Yes,
So you're disappointed na panel na yan. Tatlong utak na yan eh.
Yes, Your Honor.
Three-person panel?
Yes.
Tatlong utak na po yun. Tatlong abogado yun. Experience experienced prosecutors.
Kaya nga, if you don't mind, Your Honor, ang suggestion, I would like to go back to my suggestion that we cannot just depend on the legal processes to stop hazing or at least minimize it. No, if people like you and Senator Ralph Recto could be asked to go on public television and say na, I used to be a frat member, but now that I am wiser, now that I have children of my own, now that I love them and I realize that I don't want to go through the initiation, I would like to call on fraternities all over the Philippines to please stop hazing. Malaking epekto po yun eh.
Tsaka itong title ng law, Panyero, tingnan natin. It's an act regulating hazing and other forms of initiation rights in fraternities, sororities, and other organizations and providing penalties. Therefore, it should be an act prohibiting hazing, penalizing, an act prohibiting and penalizing hazing, regulating initiation in fraternities, sororities, etc. Well, I think for those who have studied the history of fraternities, it has not always been this way, Judge. In the time of Salonga daw, mga fraternities nila, pataasan sila ng grado. Yun ang initiation nila. Pataasan sila ng grado. Yun ang history. I don't know when it shifted to physical endurance and ano na.
May I add, Mr. Chairman, that this is probably also a result of the video game mentality. Nakita naman natin yung mga kabataan ngayon, they play all these very violent video games, na i-inure sila sa all this blood and all this pain that's being inflicted on their brothers. Akala nila video game pa rin eh. It has really become an increasingly violent society. So that's why we have more and more cases of violence. About Salonga, there was also, of course, he resigned from Sigma Rho, sir, eh. You know that, no? He resigned from Sigma Rho as a way of protest against the increasing violent tendencies of Sigma Rho. Si Attorney Robert Romolo, one of the founders of Utopia, also did that after my son died. He also disengaged, his term was disengaged from Utopia, because Utopia was also increasingly becoming violent. That's why I was hoping that if more and more high government officials could disengage, it will send a strong message to their brothers, to the younger fellow brothers, na tigilan nyo na to. There's a strong anti-hazing law, and it's about time we concur with that law. We follow that law.
Okay, at any rate, we are hearing here resolutions. I will repeat, 3 resolutions. There are bills, but in other committees. So I will just ask that they be referred to my committee so we can incorporate what we have discussed this afternoon. We can propose amendments, siguro. But the law is there eh. Ano na eh. Some word, changing the words na lang ito, pero kasi ang problema rito, if they survive the beating, there will be no complainant eh. Tama ba yun, Panyero? Huh? If they survive the beating, will they complain? They brats na sila eh. O, ano na? They will not, di ba? So nakakalungkot. Somebody has to die bago pumutok itong issue na ito. Nakakalungkot kasi yun na gano'n na mangyayari eh. Okay, so we will just go over what we have shared this afternoon, what we can do to improve the existing law. And then, Ched, please take a look at the practice of Benilde na tingnan natin kung if this can really help the deterrent dito. Then, ma'am, really deter. Sana. If we can, then, because of the unceasing sacrifice of the NBI, nakafile tayo ng kaso, this will be a deterrent effect then on the law, based on the law. So we will continue to look at improvements in the law and in psychology. This culture of violence, paano natin, konektado rin sa torture kanina, the culture of violence, konektado eh. So, instead of violence, culture of respect for human rights, ang ating i-promote. But you introduce the concept of these video games, ano bang committee yan? Sa ano siguro namin, sa trade siguro yan. Kay Bam Aquino siguro yan, regulation of video games, tingnan natin kung paano. We will look for an appropriate committee and then suggest. amusement, pwede rin sa games and amusement. Tingnan natin, baka naman sa, what we can sell in the market, no? What video games we can sell are allowed to be sold in the market, or even the classification of the games, di ba? So any other ideas before we suspend our hearing? Napolcom? Wala tayo sa on hazing?
So far, sir, monitoring naman namin ng mga PNPA sa academy as well as the recruitment ng PNP PO1. So far, mahigpit naman ang recruitment process, sir.
Yung anti-hazing law applicable sa PNPA?
Yes, sir.
Applicable sa PMA?
Yes, sir, also.
Yeah, pero
because of the upper, lower class, like that.
But the same reasoning, if they survive the beating, no complainant?
Yes, sir. That's why the PNP and the NAPOLCOM is continuing monitoring that particular incident, sir.
Okay, any other comments? Mr. Sabando, okay na, we'll just continue studying this subject matter.
Yes, sir. I just hope the next meetings there will be more senators who will attend.
Yes, I'll tell them.
Actually, the first time I was invited here, I had to fly over from Bacolod, and I had to miss the funeral of my ex-wife just to be able to go here, And then we were only given 10 minutes.
Was it in my committee?
Yes, it was, but you were absent. It was Senator Lauren Legarda who handled it. So I was thinking maybe we also need to improve.
Yeah, we were talking about the judges, mga judges benefits, marami. That actually, Senator Legarda is the vice chairman here, and she pointed out to me that the agenda was too loaded.
Yes, sir.
So I'm sorry for that, Mr. Servando. Okay, so that next time, ito ganito, dalawa lang kayo, torture and hazing. I think this is a balanced agenda. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Our hearing is hereby suspended.